Welcome back. I just finished watching the second episode of the Sam and Max animated series, and this episode, I feel like despite the fact that it was a lot shorter than the first episode, since I'm doing each 10-minute segment one video at a time, because the first episode was 20 minutes and now they're switching to the 10-minute segments, which are combined to be 20 minutes. But anyway, long story short, this episode's 10 minutes, the last episode was 20 minutes. And I feel like despite the fact that it's only 10 minutes, I feel like I have a lot more to say about it. So the main facets of this episode, I guess you could say, is Sam and Max, they visit a school on career day, and they take the kids on one of their assignments, which is out into space, where they have to defeat a galactic entity known as Lactose the Intolerant, who's going to destroy Earth. So you essentially, for I'd say the latter half of this episode, you have Sam and Max confronting Lactose the Intolerant while a bunch of school children are in the back of the DeSoto, which is their car. This episode has a lot of really clever jokes, I felt. Some hit or miss stuff. The cold opening was sort of like a 2001 A Space Odyssey parody, which was, funny enough. It had some humorous elements to it. I feel like overall, perhaps this episode isn't quite as strong as the first, but it's definitely helped a lot more by its tighter runtime. So if you're not clicking with it, then it's only 10 minutes, you know what I mean? This episode has a very funny joke about being commercial free, which sadly this is the sort of thing which if you're watching it on TV it's really funny, but if you're not watching it on TV it's inherently, it can't be as funny because you don't have commercials. Basically what they say is they break the fourth wall and Sam says, yep, that's right, this episode is commercial free, and he gets cut off, and this happens sort of a little bit midway through the episode as well as at the end of the episode, which, like, again, if it was on TV then it would have been a lot more funny, but since I'm not watching it on TV without commercials, it can't be as funny, inherently speaking. Something else I'd like to talk about is I think this is an interesting direction to take the second episode. In the first episode, we had the interdimensional portal in the refrigerator, and this episode, they went with an intergalactic entity, so already we're at sort of like a world-saving scale here. And for a comedy show, this isn't really an issue, because, it's more about the humor. But I think it's very interesting that they go with sort of crazy supernatural elements for both the first and second episode, because with Sam and Max episodes you tend to get the main variety of plot lines they have for this show. I guess you could categorize them as A, which is the supernatural plot line, which was last episode and this episode. B, which is the I guess you could say problem or issue type episode, where I guess that would be like there's more, like, there's not a thing they need to solve, more so it's a issue which is plaguing them, which we'll get to those later. I mean, we're only 2 episodes in the series, but I think maybe next episode is an example of that. And then 3, I guess you could say, is sort of the super spy type episode, where, again, we'll get to those later. So those are, like, sort of the 3 categories of Sam and Max episodes, which typically exist throughout the series. So I find it very interesting that for the first 2 episodes, they go with sort of the supernatural angle, where, interdimensional portals, and now we're already in space, and there's a lot of clever jokes in this episode, such as the, like, space is drawn in such an abstract way, and like Sam says, it's space drawn with not even a second grade understanding of the solar system, whatever, and just like they break the fourth wall so casually, but it's so clean, it's not disruptive in any way. But yeah, this episode was enjoyable. Not my favorite episode of Sam and Max, but I think it was a bit of fun. So that's all I had to say on this episode. So if you enjoyed this, feel free to like, dislike, subscribe, comment, leave your thoughts below. And I have more Sam and Max reviews coming out on the way, and feel free to check out the other videos and reviews I have up on the channel if you enjoyed this. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a lovely day.